And the fourth is, what is it? Ambition. What's a better word? I don't know. I don't know what a better word is right now because I'm out of words because I can't make videos anymore. You ready? What am I going to talk about? Oh my gosh. Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. Sometimes we can think like, well, no, I'm not really prideful at all. So here's this not plagiarism. I'm citing my source. It is Donald DeMarco, this article on pride. He identifies 4 ways that pride kind of can rear its ugly head. He talks about boastfulness. He talks about hypocrisy. He talks about ostentation and talks about ambition. We realize that ostentation, in the sense of like, having nice things or being perceived in a decent way, it's not automatically the most horrible thing. Also, when it comes to ambition, not all ambition is bad. But there are ways that all these can get twisted and they can become an aspect of our lives that we don't want them to become, because they can be ways in which pride, once again, rears its head. So what are these again? Boastfulness, ostentation, hypocrisy, and ambition. So he addresses this and says, okay, here's the solutions for all of them. Obviously, the solution for all of them is going to be Jesus. It's going to be humility. You might find yourself being that kind of person that you kind of always have to talk about the great things you've been doing. And that could be a real thing. I think pride sometimes might come from actually being convinced of your own worth. It could come sometimes from being really convinced that you're amazing. I think a lot of times, for most of us, I think pride comes out of a place of insecurity. I think for a lot of us, pride comes out of a place of, I don't have a lot of self-worth. So boastfulness, typically, I mean, maybe there are people who are very, very accomplished, very, very self-confident, and that they're boastful. But it also could be someone who is like, I don't actually think that great of myself. And because of that, I kind of have to talk myself up. So how do you get out of that? The remedy for boastfulness is not insult yourself a lot. The remedy for boastfulness would be to be more oriented toward the praise of others than the praise of oneself. That's what Donald DeMarco offers. And I thought that's brilliant, because it doesn't like pull yourself down. It just says, okay, attune your vision to seeing the blessings, the gifts, the good things that are in other people's lives, and be quick to praise those. So to praise others more quickly than praising oneself. I think that's a great, but that's the first one, boastfulness, right? The second is ostentation. If you have the ability to have nice things, maybe that's one of the gifts you get in your life. But what about getting preoccupied? Like really being preoccupied with, okay, this is the kind of car I drive. I'm the kind of person who wears these kinds of clothes. I'm the kind of person who lives in this kind of a house. I'm the kind of person who, fill in the blank. Because ostentation is meant to be seen. What matters to me the most is how people perceive my external self. I think it's a form of vanity, right? Vanity is that inordinate preoccupation with what other people think about me. So ostentation is kind of the result, I think, of that sense of I have to put on these external frameworks, because if I have this, it means this about me. If I drive this kind of car, it means this about me. If I live in this kind of house, and if I have this kind of job, all those things. Donald DeMarco, he says, okay, if you want to get past that, the way to push that aside is to cultivate more deeply the spiritual, the interior aspect of your life, rather than be overly focused on the external, or exterior aspect of your life. And so what does that mean? Well, that means, okay, I'm looking at the virtues. I'm looking more closely at what is it to be a person of character? What is it to be a person who lives the truth that they proclaim? What does it mean to be the kind of person who actually can develop what no one else sees? Because why? If I spend time developing my interior life, if I spend time developing my spiritual life, by default, one of the things that I'll be doing is I'm putting more emphasis on the eternal than I am on the temporal, right? I'm putting more emphasis on what really matters than on something that's merely external. When it comes to boastfulness, is I want to praise others more quickly than praise myself. When it comes, and notice the gift of others and praise those things. When it comes to ostentation, I want to develop those spiritual aspects more quickly than the external aspects. The third thing is hypocrisy. So one of the ways pride can manifest itself is in hypocrisy, that I say one thing, but I do something else. In fact, remember that to be a hypocrite is to be a pretender. That's what the word in Greek actually means, to be an actor. So when Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, one of his main accusations he levels at them is they're hypocrites, right? You're actors. You're merely pretending. So you don't really care about the Lord. You're only pretending to care about the Lord. You don't care about the poor. You're only pretending to care about the poor. So hypocrite or actor or pretender is an aspect of pride, because it means I want you to perceive me as having a virtue that I'm not willing to actually have. I want you to perceive me as being the kind of person that I'm not actually willing to become. And so this gap between who I want you to believe I am and who I'm willing to try to be is widening and widening all the time. So how do we deal with hypocrisy? Well, one is to try to close that gap, right? To try to close the gap between the person I want to be and the person I actually am. And so again, this is always going to be the case for all of us. Now, we're all going to fall short of this. And we know that we desperately need God's grace for all of this. For taking one step forward, we need God's grace in this massive way. But also to strive to not be the kind of person who says, I want you to perceive me as having the virtues that I'm not willing to actually have. I want you to perceive me as being the kind of person that I'm not actually willing to choose to be. To fight against hypocrisy is to strive for those actual virtues. Again, knowing that we're going to fail, knowing that we're not, to strive to be that person that you want to be, that is narrowing the gap of hypocrisy, right? It's narrowing the gap of being a hypocrite. It's narrowing the gap of being a pretender. Because I don't want to pretend. I want to actually be the virtuous person that I'd like to be seen as. So, a battle against pride is hypocrisy. Close that gap. Let what I say be actually what I do. Like the other way to say it, Donald DeMarco says, practice what you preach. Now, boastfulness, how do we get past that? Notice the blessings, the gifts of others, and praise those things. When it comes to ostentation, work on developing the interior spiritual life more than the external. When it comes to hypocrisy, strive to be a person who practices what they preach, to close that gap between who I am and who I want to be. And the fourth is ambition. Now, keep in mind, as I said before, ambition on its own is not always bad. There are so many great saints who are great saints because they had incredible ambition, right? They said, I want to do something amazing for the Lord. I want to do something big for the Lord. That in and of itself is not bad, but we realize that with our broken hearts, we can all take even something good, not bad, ambition, and we can twist it. And it can become one of those things where it's like, okay, I want to make a name for myself. It goes back to the Tower of Babel, right? Or Tower of Babel, however you say that. It goes back to that where it says, the people said, let us make a name for ourselves. That kind of ambition is all about me. It's all self-centered. As opposed to the ambition of the saints. And the ambition of the saints was, I'm going to strive to give my best. I'm going to strive for excellence. And then I'm going to allow you, God. I'm going to allow you, God, to be glorified. I'm going to allow you to make that destiny manifest, right? I'm going to allow you, God, to do whatever you want with that. Well, here's my offering of my best. Here's my offering of excellence. I'm striving for this. And now I'm going to trust that in your hands, that's where it needs to be. Whether people know my name or they never know my name, that is irrelevant. Because my ambition was never for myself. I never wanted to make a name for myself. The ambition was, I give you my best, God. I give you my worst. I give you everything. I strive for excellence so that you may be glorified. That's the way past ambition. That's the way we can push ambition as a form of pride to the side. Okay, so recap. Boastfulness, I want to notice the blessings of others and praise those things. When it comes to ostentation, I want to work on the interior life more than the exterior life. When it comes to hypocrisy, I want to narrow that gap between who I am and who I claim to be. And lastly, when it comes to ambition, yes, we're going to strive to give God our best, but not to make a name for ourselves. Instead, to glorify His name. I'm just so grateful for people like Donald DeMarco who are out there who can drill these things into my mind, because I need to be reminded of these things all the time. Hopefully you do too. Anyways, we're all of us here at Ascension Presents. My name is Father Mike. God bless.